Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the June 12th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Kalo has a special treat for us today from our dog kennel.
Come on. Let's go, guy. Come here over there. Come here. Slow down, guy. Slow down. Our featured dog this week is an American Bulldog Mastiff mix, I guess. He's a male. He's about a year old. He's adorable. He's great to play with. Great personality. He was found as a stray on 19th Street in Lorain, and he'll be available for adoption on Friday. Come here, guy. Show him a good picture of you. Come on, show him a good picture. Come here. Come on, show a good picture. Say hello. First transit like a dog as a mascot? Stop by our dog kennel. How many dogs do we have, do you know? 38. 38 dogs. Please stop by. Let's get the cages emptied out.
If we could, I wanted to bring up an issue with the process or procedures at the kennel. An issue happened over the weekend. I have Jack here. I want to get him up here and then get him out so he can get back to work. So if the board's okay, I'd like to bring this issue up now.
Sure.
Yeah, come on up, Jack. Let's do this before we start the meeting.
I had some animal rescue groups contact me. They were upset and they unfairly went after our dog warden regarding an issue where ran out of cage space. Is that correct, Jack?
Well, anticipated cage space was running short, and going into a warm weekend was the decision why the two animals were put down. And I stressed to the animal groups that if we want a procedure written, if the board would like to, for me to go ahead and do one, I can do one. Notification by email to all the rescue groups. I notify them by phone anyway, but so we're all on an even plane. When we're at 75% capacity, we can go ahead and notify the so-called rescue groups and of our capacity, okay? But I have to stress, as Commissioner Kalo indicated, we have 38 dogs. That's 95% capacity with 40 kennels. So you see my dilemma. But we have to remember, we have to maintain the integrity of the spay and neuter program as it is written. So what I'm saying is, any dogs that have to leave, there's only two ways that a dog can leave my facility. To take them straight out. If they're a 501c3 registered with the United States, the federal government, or if they're already altered, neutered, or spayed. So, I mean, those are the two dilemmas. And I could tell you right now from different calls that I've made from the different rescue groups, everybody is full. But I will still try to go ahead and make these endeavors. So if it pleases the board, I will, write a procedure to the effect of, at 75% capacity, I will start notification by email to said rescue groups. I'll have a list of email addresses, and I could copy the county administrator. I know he's absent right now, just so we're all on the same level plane of everything. But I want to stress maintaining the integrity of the spay and neuter program.
Are you saying that the dogs are staying an extended period of time waiting to be spayed or neutered? Is that the problem?
No, Commissioner Kokoski. What's happening is even though if a regular customer comes in, say like yesterday, we had one neutered dog go ahead and get adopted. We knew the dog was neutered, and we had one dog that was still unaltered. So we sold 2 dogs yesterday. But the dog will stay until Friday. So the purpose the purpose here is space for dogs that are coming in while the officers are out. So, I mean, we either do one or two things, and I was thinking about this October 1st when we did this. What's it going to be like when it gets warm? Because, there's going to be more activity. Now, I'm going to tell you, July 4th is going to come up, and those firecrackers are going to be going off, and I tell you what, those dogs are going to hear that. They're going to be snapping their leads, and the on-call officer is always busy on that day. So, I mean, we have to make a decision and everything else about what to do, and it bothers me to go ahead and put down dogs, but I am proud to say that I have some of the best euthanization numbers in the state. It's under 1%. When I came in here 5 or 8 years ago, it was 44%. So,
we've done a good job with the dog kennel, and sometimes you just run into a situation
right,
that you have to have space for the new ones,
correct,
the ones that haven't adopted out,
and
take them is difficult.
Yeah, and that's one of the drawbacks, Commissioner Kalo, is that is when dogs necessarily have to be put down. That is not an easy decision. It's not an easy decision. I'm an emotional guy, and I like to see everything go out very smooth and everything else, even with the dogs that are aggressive, because half of my job is protection of the public. And the administrator and I have written each other on this, and I have documentation supporting that this dog would not be fitting for it. And we also have a behaviorist that I utilized even yesterday with the German Shepherd. So I have all these tools and everything else. So when decisions have to be made, they have to be made. Mm-hmm. But right now, as Commissioner Williams indicated, this is an issue of space at the time. And from what I understand, this group wanted 24 hours notice. I'm not so sure that 24 hours notice would have really sufficed in this case, just by nature of the fact of what I indicated before of the 501c3 accreditation and everything just falling into place this way. This is our dilemma.
Well, we have rules we have to work under. I mean,
this is
we
true.
don't let the dogs just go home with the person who purchases the dog.
Correct.
The dog gets spayed or neutered, and then they can come back and get their dog.
They pick up the dog. They pick up the dog from the doctor. Correct.
Right.
So I mean, we have to maintain the integrity of the program, and that's first and foremost.
How many dogs have we euthanized this year, Jack?
5. 5.
5 dogs all year.
5. Yeah.
I mean, we're doing I think, an
bang up
outrageous,
I agree
great
with
job.
you. I think it was the
But-
reason I wanted Jack to come up here is he is actually taking the blunt from these groups. They're looking at him, they're blaming him because 2 dogs got put down. Jack has procedures that he has to follow.
Right, but I thought we did have a procedure in place that when we got full, we would call like Carrie, and she would work on getting rescues out and about to pull the dogs.
And
before
you
they-
are correct, Commissioner Kokoski. But Carrie has 21 in her basement.
Well, yeah, that pet placement issue has really overloaded
with
everyone.
that and also the APL. The APL was in yesterday, which is really good news because they're looking at some of the dates and everything else they're scribbling down, so they may be able to alleviate some of the things going into the weekend, which is really good news.
Yeah,
So-
but I thought we already had something in place where you did notify the rescues when we got full to let them know.
I've always notified the rescues, but it has been by phone. But as
Oh.
Commissioner Williams has indicated, something written down in a procedure, say 75%, okay, we read an email, so everybody knows.
I would say it'd be a lot less time consuming to send a blast email to everyone than try
Right.
to make phone calls to each individual group. So I would say that would be a
Yeah.
really
They-
good idea.
They already sent me the emails to groups, and the idea for it is that if he gets at 75%, Jack can go through and say, okay, these dogs here have been here the longest. These are the ones that would get put down if we hit full capacity. And then the groups would get it, and they have the opportunity to come in, adopt the dogs. And then how long does it take for the spay and neuter?
Well, the spay and neuter, as I indicated, they're, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday dogs are picked up on Friday morning,
Okay.
and they're transported to Four Pets Clinic, and anything adopted on Friday and Saturday is picked up on the following Tuesday morning.
Right, so you have a dog adopted on a Tuesday, it's not leaving our kennel until Friday, so you've got
Exactly.
3 days of space.
That's exactly true. So the thing is, where I would have Nirvana or Xanadu if I had a lot of adoptions and we increase the transport. That's an option also. But that would have to be on the decision on the board.
Well, we don't have the revenues are down at the dog kennel, people purchasing licenses, so it's hard to increase anything at this point.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, the rescue groups are doing the transports for us. We're not doing the transports, but if we
The
need-
transports are being done by Mr. Stella, the
Right.
behaviorist.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And
You
he's
have to fund him to do more transports.
being funded by one of the 501c3s,
Fido.
sir. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Michelle,
No, I haven't had
Yes.
a chance to look at the ORC. Would there be a way to, if there was a rescue group for the dogs in question, the ones that you would identify, where we could actually do almost like a down payment of, if you put $300-400 down, you can take the dog, if it's at full capacity, save the dog, have it spayed or neutered, and then when you bring proof back, you would get the refund of that $300 to $400, but it would have to be a significant amount.
well, you wouldn't have to under the 501c3.
They're already
rules, so
allowed to
they're
take
already
them.
to take their 501c3s, so.
But no, I'm looking at more for groups that may not be a 501(c)(3).
The groups that are trying to attain that accreditation are running through the same federal red tape that a lot of them are. And Carrie Graham is one of them. And there's another female down in, she used to live here in Elyria, she lives in Jones Road, just by nature of the fact that she moved down there for more space to go ahead to have more animals. So, and she's been, I guess she's been at it for 18 months, from my
Is that
understanding.
Amy?
Excuse me?
Is that Amy?
No, her name's Christy. Amy is already credited.
Okay.
She's multiple breed rescue. She is one of the 501c3s that I indicated, but when I called her, she was in Las Vegas.
Yeah, go ahead and put something together and copy us all on it. And
Sure. Okay, I'll get a procedure together, and then if we can, then we'll go that route. And
I have a list of emails I just need to forward over to you. They sent
okay,
it to me
that would be fine,
yesterday.
Commissioner. That would be fine.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
Everything you do.
Thank you, Jack, have a good one. Good job over there.
Yeah, awesome.
Madam Clerk?
At 9:45 will be the second hearing on CDBG FY13. At 10 o'clock will be a presentation by Granicus. Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Travel.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez isn't here today, but I do have a personnel summary sheet. I'd like to have a motion to approve.
So moved?
Further discussion?
Second.
Further discussion? Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye. If you can get that, Teresa, please. Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the minutes of June 5th.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under Job and Family, enter into plan for expenditure of funds allocated by Ohio Department of Job and Family Services for state fiscal year 13. County has received $310,805 to be expended for the child support activities.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under Transit, recommend changes to the Cleveland route.
Pam, could you join us up here for some discussion points? And I see we have a guest from First Transit with us today.
Good morning. Pam Novak with Lorain County Transit. Since last week, we have been looking at some alternative options with the Cleveland commuter service. We have First Transit, and I have looked at proposing a new route, which is actually a route that was in existence prior to cuts, but the route would be on the west side of Lorain, where we would be able to serve the Mercy Hospital. We could provide service to the Cleveland Clinic, to the Walmart, and right in the Lighthouse Plaza area, as well as providing service so that these riders can then connect with our other two routes if they need to come into Elyria. What we would be proposing is to run that service 12 hours per day, and which would cost approximately $600, a little over $600 a day. And then what would happen is then that would connect. It's an hour loop, so it would be able to connect with the Route 1 and the Route 2 at the times that they are at the plaza in Lorain on 5th Street. We looked at past history with ridership, and the route actually could generate 2,000 to 3,000 trips per month.
That was our heaviest route always. So,
Right,
I mean, that was
right.
the one that had the largest amount of need and users.
Right. So then, currently we're doing 16 hours with the Cleveland service. So if we do 12 hours with this proposed route, we would have a balance of 4 hours. Other options could be taking and using, say, a couple hours to maybe take commuters to the Westlake Park and Ride lot, bring them back in the evening. Or it could be a combination, maybe that, along with providing some additional ADA service that we are actually required to provide.
One thing I wanted to bring, I spoke with Pam earlier this morning. With those 4 hours, one of the more popular routes is to the community college. Is that correct, Pam?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And if we could take the 4 hours that we would accumulate over the summer, a lot of people, you still have a good number of people going to the college, but not as many. Kind of bank those and then use them for additional routes during the spring and winter sessions to actually increase it through the university partnership at the college. They don't have classes there during the summer unless you're taking like an elective, but primarily it's just your fall and spring or fall and winter. I'm not sure which one they call it now.
I'm kind of confused so much. Like bank the hours. What do we do with the drivers who are on shift?
Well, I'm looking at, we would have to increase the hours. Pam, we were talking about this. We have to go through and take a look at the logistics of it. But during the summer months, we would only utilize the drivers for 12 hours.
I'm looking at First Transit right now. I don't quite understand it. They're 8-hour working shifts. Aren't they for the drivers?
They would be,
There's no bankability, to tell the guys they're only working 6-hour work days.
There's no opportunity in the contract to go through and have them work an additional 4 hours, 12 hours instead of 16.
Probably need you to come up here if we're going to
Yeah.
answer questions to First Transit. You get to introduce yourself and everything while you're up there.
My name is David Jones, General Manager for First Transit. I think if we would bank hours at that point, those positions we would have to see if there's other call-offs or anything like that, or vacation time, sick, that we could utilize those drivers, and then possibly utilize them later when we have the fall or spring.
Yeah, I would assume that you would have some part-time drivers or the ability to hire a part-time driver. And that, the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to use these 4 hours to kind of create a service just because we have 4 hours to fill.
But we are mandated to do the dial a ride, provide those
That's
services.
a different, we've got the riders, the actual buses running though.
Right.
They can be redirected off of routes, but Commissioner Williams is saying just do 12 hours of service. Correct? Isn't that what you're asking? Do
12 hours of service of the routes. Because we
And
have.
only pay for 12 hours of service. I don't know if that works with drivers, if you have 2 6-hour shifts. There are 8-hour working shifts normally would be my guess.
Right. That's correct.
So unless you had someplace else to send those same drivers on outside of Lorain County Transit to before their shift or after their shift, I don't know how that would work. Prior to you asking, you know what I'm saying, Tom?
Yeah, no, we were talking about the logistics that would have to go through. What I'm saying is there's a big need for it at the college. There's 1,400 riders.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, it's a
at the
big need
college.
out there. That's been one of our biggest hurts. is
And
back forth
every
to
2
college.
hours for, have to wait makes it difficult for your class schedule. So I'm trying to come up with a way where we could actually utilize more hours during the time that you're going to have more students
During the
attending the
busier season.
college. Right.
We would be willing definitely to look at that and see what we can do logistically to make it happen.
You probably have to get back with us on it then.
That's exactly
Probably
right. We have to put everything together.
see logistically how it works,
Yes,
workforce
sir.
and ridership and what you've got going.
We'll be glad to do whatever it takes.
I don't think we're making a decision
No, we're not making a
today,
decision,
no.
just, it was information we asked
Right.
for. We've got a few weeks before we have to make a decision on it, so. Thanks, Pam.
Okay, thank you.
I did receive 2 emails. I received a call Friday on my way back from Columbus from a lady who takes the Cleveland route, and she sent a email, and I forwarded it to the clerk. So if you notice, they were added on to the board correspondence, number 15 and 16. But, and then yesterday, actually, when I was at the finance meeting at 7:30, I saw the bus taken off to Cleveland, and the windows are kind of tinted, so you can't really see, but it looked like there was quite a few people on the bus, so I don't think it's something that we want to eliminate, but maybe just modify.
I like the proposal that Pam has here. I think this is going to be huge for the individuals, at least in the city of Lorain. That's where the greater need is for transit.
Right.
And I think you did a terrific job on this, Pam, hitting the needs. I've had a lot of calls from people saying, we can't get to doctor's appointments. We can't get to the hospital. Getting even to Walmart or to Kohl's to be able to do shopping and buy things. And this kind of addresses that issue for.
One time, this was one of our old routes.
I know.
This was a big route. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, in the eastern end down Broadway, when my business was downtown Lorain, I mean, just the amount of ridership on that. I mean, it's a major concentration of users.
Yeah, and I think by doing this route here, it is only impacting one city, but I think it's going to impact the most riders that
Right.
utilize the transit, so.
It's always been an urban issue, the
Yeah.
transit, so, I mean, not that it isn't important in the rural areas, those people out there really have a need, but there's not enough ridership to. And without dedicated revenue to provide that service, it's really difficult.
I wonder if, like for hospitals and for the college, if there's any foundation money available to get from the foundations for the purposes of getting students to class, and then they could give that money to us, which we could double.
Oh, that's interesting.
But not as a charter. I know you can't charter.
Right, but it's getting the foundations to do it. A lot of foundations, they want their advertising, they want.
Well, we could put their name on the bus.
They want to have the control of the situations. I talked with Mr. Cordes when I first came in the office about that. We talked to different foundations. Maybe the environment's changed now where we can go back and take a look at it, but in 2011, there was a lot of resistance on that.
It's always worth
Always-
going, knocking
I
on the
agree
door and
with you.
talking to them
So,
again.
And,
Okay.
All right, Madam Clerk, number 13, please.
Authorize various additions and deletions to utilize the agency's master appropriate 2013 for children's services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
aye,
Under Common Pleas, approve a subsidy grant agreement in the amount of $910,387 with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction for community-based corrections program for 07 non-residential felony.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Approve a subsidy grant agreement in the amount of $155,102 with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction for a community-based corrections program for 08 non-residential misdemeanor.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under the coroner, approve and enter into agreement with Robert G. Cool III, effective retroactive to April 1st, 2013 through March 31st, 2014, to perform services of pathologist assistance on an on-call as-needed basis for autopsies at EMH, Elyria, and EFF's company, Lorain, at a rate of $85 per case.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under the Sheriff, authorize Lorain County Sheriff to apply for grant monies through FY13 Bryan Memorial Justice Assistant Grant to purchase a police package vehicle. This request is based upon a mutual agreement with the cities of Elyria and Lorain. Ohio Attorney General certified a disparate allocation claim, and neither city nor county would receive any money until an agreement was approved. Therefore, the allocation of funds will be split as follows. Elyria and Lorain will get $18,707.33, and Lorain County $18,707.34.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I actually want to bring this up. I did a ride-along Thursday night with the Sheriff's Department for an 8-hour shift. We have a major issue with their cruisers. Most of them, 140 to 180,000 vehicles are actually starting to become, I would say, unsafe. I was a little nervous. And one vehicle, we actually had a domestic relation. I think the individual was under some type of influence. He passed out in the cruiser. It took 3 deputies to get him out. And the reason they had to get him out is the cruiser broke down on the scene of the domestic violence issue. And had to bring another person in to get him out of the cruiser to transport him. And then we had to get a tow truck in. After that, we went back to the Sheriff's Office, got their backup vehicle. We're in pursuit for backup. Cruiser was probably going 80 to 90 miles an hour. I look over, check engine lights on, the airbag lights on, and another light that I can't remember. Talking with the deputies, it's a huge issue. It's not just 4 vehicles they're going to need. They're looking at possibly need 15 to 20 vehicles. They showed me there's rust on them. I spoke with the mechanic that came out for the tow truck trying to jump it to get it to run. He's telling me that it's multiple times that he's coming out providing the service. And it's happening when they actually have prisoners in the back seat. So it's a dangerous thing for our deputies.
Sounds like a
And,
bad movie.
It does, and you know, when you're in pursuit and you see that airbag, and I didn't know if it was my airbag or his airbag, but either way, it's not a good situation. So I know we may have some funds coming up. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about up here. I won't, from discussions in executive session on a property, but we may want to consider utilizing those funds if they do come available for the purchase of new cruisers. They actually they have 6 vehicles that they use to transport prisoners. Only 2 of them are actually allowed to leave the county, and one of those vehicles has been in service longer than I've been alive. So
Major issue, Tom. It's a matter of revenues to address those issues. DR's issues, who could use vehicles, ourselves, ours, real old stock, we haven't replaced anything, but again, it's revenue issues. I thought maybe you were going to endorse a sales tax there that we should buy vehicles and everything else. I was looking for that.
well, I
Jerry's
think,
chuckling.
yeah, we have about some extra funds that could come available. Purchase of those vehicles would be around $600,000. So
Yeah, Drozdowski's done a great job keeping us abreast of that over the years. He really,
Yeah.
we did, what, 4 vehicles this year?
4 vehicles this year, but again, it's still, they have outdated fleet, and when you talk to the municipalities, a lot of them have in their contracts, once the vehicles hit 100,000 miles, they go through and actually get new vehicles, so.
Yep.
Speaking of the ride-along, maybe Sandy, you could take a little note for Jim. I had a conversation with Deputy Curtis yesterday, and he had suggested that our 911 dispatchers, not the sheriff's ones that came over, but our actual 911 dispatchers go on a ride along just to get a better feel of the county and how it's all set up. So maybe we might want to think about doing that when he gets back.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it would be a great idea. There's, I just spoke to Sandy on this too. We had a call that came in, and there was confusion on the call. Now, I'm going to work with Tracy. Tracy, our director, is actually going to go on a ride along this week with them. But the big thing is you have one call that comes in, it goes to the 911 operator, and then it doesn't get switched. They transfer the call over or take information and give the call to the dispatcher. Deputy needs more information. They don't have the caller on the line anymore. Now you're wasting valuable time by trying to get the individual back on. Or there's a miscommunication. The one that we went on was domestic abuse. Person was pouring gasoline on clothes in the garage. We get out there and basically the person came in, was getting items, and knocked over a gas can. So we don't know if it was the caller that did it or if it was a miscommunication with the dispatchers. I spoke with Tracy about it. She's going to look into it.
And it's all taped, so you'll be able to chase down what the conversation actually was.
Right.
Yeah, but I think it is a great idea to have all our dispatchers or 911 operators go through it. It's an eye-opening experience when you're out there and you're seeing the type of calls they get, and a lot of them, they turn their sirens on for 5 minutes. They're running to a potential emergency, and then the hit comes back that was a false alert, and then sirens go off. So cars take a lot of wear and tear. It's not like your vehicle that you're driving around. You'll see the cars revving up to 80, 90 miles an hour to get out for dispatch, and then it gets shut down. And they're going 16 hours a day.
Right.
So.
Yep.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Amendment Resolution 12180 adopted March 14, 2012, applying for the DEER grant in the amount of $20,795, which represents 50% of the DEER officer base salary for the 9-month school year. Said amendment is to reflect an increase in the grant of $22,389.06 to be paid from the sheriff's salary account.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr.
Yeah,
Kayla?
want to bring one other thing up with the DARE office. They do a great job, and actually I learned something. I got young kids in junior high and elementary school, and I don't know if you ever heard of a Skittle party. It's something that's going on in our schools. It's actually happening at middle schools and junior highs. People are taking their grandparents' old prescription drugs, so the parents don't see it, grandparents don't see it. Take the prescription drugs, they mix it into a bowl, and basically mix the pills up, and then throughout the party, they go over there, grab a handful of pills, and take them. You got kids that are overdosing on this, and the bad thing is paramedics don't actually know how to treat them because they don't know what medication they took. And I think it's important for the parents to actually talk to their kids about it. In Amherst, it's a great community, good schools, but it's happening there. And I'm just proud that my daughter's able to tell me about these things that's going on. I've had conversations with the principals, but this summer, make sure you're talking to your kids. If you're at work, your kids are at home. I think it's important to have the conversation with them. I was out in Avon Lake for a epidemic meeting.
Did you go to that last night?
I went
Did you
to
go
it.
with Dr. Evans?
Yeah, he did a great job. And overdoses actually lead the state for causes of death, actually surpassing car accidents. And it's a big issue. It's not just at the high schools. You're seeing it at the junior highs, and you're actually seeing it at some of the middle schools now too.
How long a presentation was it that he presented?
For him, I believe he went about 45 minutes.
Really?
The overall presentation and Q&A went about 2.5 hours. There's around 300 people there. They're going to have a follow-up one. They're going to actually have experts in the field at, I believe, August 13th. I believe that's a Tuesday at the Avon Lake Library.
Good. And
And,
Dr. Evans does a great job, and it's a serious problem in our community, that's without a doubt.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and take a look, if you have old prescription drugs, you can contact your police departments. They can take the prescription drugs for you. If they're not taking them in, I spoke with the chief from Avon Lake. They have a grant. You can go to the Avon Lake Police Department and drop off old prescription drugs there.
And
And
our
if you have
sheriff's
them in your hou-
department, our
Oh.
sheriff's department also does
Yeah.
like program.
And if you do have them in your house, especially opiates or something that the kids will be going after, lock them up.
Yeah.
Don't make them accessible, because it might not be your kids, but it could be your kids' friends.
Well, and open houses too. They were talking about, people are stealing your prescription drugs during open houses. If you're selling your house this summer, lock up your medications before you invite people in to take a look at your house.
Yep.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under the Treasurer, advertise notice of applications on the Uniform Depository Act from any financial institution legally eligible which may desire to submit a written application to become a public depository of public funds of Lorain County as provided by the Uniform Depository Act, Section 135.33, Ohio Revised Code. Notice in the Chronicle and Journal on July 5th and 12th, and open at 2 p.m. on July 19th.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Do our public hearing?
Yes,
Yes.
please, we can go into the,
Ms. Blanchette?
Good morning.
Good morning.
good morning.
Linda Blanchette with Lorain County Community Development. Today, we're going to have a second public hearing. And if I stumble over the grant, the name of the grant, it's because the state has changed it. So for years, we said formula grant. It's now the fiscal 2013 CDBG Community Development Allocation Program Grant. So this public hearing is being conducted on behalf of Lorain County Board of Commissioners in order to make application for the CDBG Community Development Allocation Program Grant Fiscal 2013. The first public hearing was held on February 13th, 2013, where the program and general guidelines for application were explained. Also during that presentation, the eligibility requirements and application process were discussed. During this second public hearing, I will present the basic grant requirements and proposed projects to be submitted in this application. The guidelines for the application are: Lorain County is permitted up to 20% of the allocation to administer the program, and fair housing costs are included in the 20%. The county cannot exceed 15% of its total allocation for public service activities. Lorain County is limited to no more than 4 county activities in one given year. Counties that include a city that received a direct allocation for the 2010 FY11 and FY12 program years will be required to undertake at least one project in that city in FY13, 14, and 15. There is no set dollar requirement. This requirement applies to the city of North Ridgeville. In the past, they have applied on their own. Now they must apply through us. The 3 national objectives that proposed activities must meet are benefiting low to moderate income persons, addressing slum or blighted areas, and meeting a particular urgent need. There are specific activities that we are encouraged to fund, that is the public service activities, like the homeless shelters, the Meals on Wheels programs. The county's fiscal year 2013 allocation is $290,000. This is $49,000 less than our last grant. And the previous grant, it was $49,000 less.
And
So
a
every
question
year.
for you, as you're going through this, and that doesn't include additional allocation to cover North Ridgeville, who received $70,000 before, correct?
Correct.
Wow, 110,000.
Yeah, it's 120 grand. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm working with the last every year. This community development allocation program now also includes Lorain County having to submit
a set-aside grant for anyone who requests one. In the past, communities would apply for neighborhood downtown revitalization, neighborhood revitalization, and critical infrastructure grants. This year, Lorain County is submitting an application for Amherst for the downtown revitalization grant. In the past, Amherst has been able to apply on their own. And I've asked Teresa Gilles to be here today in case there are any questions on this grant. The process of the grant application is that the notification and applications for availability of the funds were mailed to the townships, villages, and small cities in January of this year. These applications were submitted back to us. They were reviewed for eligibility under the guidelines and for compliance with the national objectives. This year, we received 11 funding requests. And remember, we only have 4 activities. Today, I'm presenting the projects for Lorain County's CDBG Community Development Allocation Program Grant Fiscal 2013 application. It is our desire, following the outcome of the second public hearing, to submit to the Lorain County Board of Commissioners an application for approval on June 12, 2013. This application must then be sent to the Ohio Department Services Agency Office of Community Development prior to the June 21st, 2013 deadline. Again, we had changes in the names. Yes. The proposed projects for this grant are the Senior Center Improvements Activity, which is the City of North Ridgeville. They are asking for $69,640,000. And the national objective is LMI, limited clientele. What they are going to do with the funds is the second phase of paving their parking lot at the senior center and also doing 2 sets of doors, ADA compliant, at the senior center. The next activity is a street improvements activity. This is for Sheffield Township, and the grant amount is $122,360, and this is for Lincoln Boulevard to repave that. The third activity is public service, which is Neighborhood Alliance for their meals program, $40,000. The national objective is LMI limited clientele. The national objective for the street improvement is LMI service benefit area. Again, we're having fair housing, which is $10,000, and then general administration is $48,000. The proposed projects in the downtown revitalization grant are private rehabilitation design activity for the City of Amherst, and that is $270,000. The national objective is slum and blight, and then the administration end of that is $30,000. And I want to remind you that all of these activities must be completed by December 31st of 2014. And at this time, I ask for any questions.
Any questions, board? Or I'll take any public comment. Teresa, if you'd like to join us up here? No? Well, I know you and I had a couple discussions about this program, so if you've got anything you'd like to add and get your 15 minutes of fame.
I'd rather not. I'm Teresa Gilles. I'm the Main Street Director for the City of Amherst. And I'm excited to apply for this grant. It is the second one that I've ever written. And so what it'll be used for basically is for code upgrades to building owners. We have 79 buildings in our downtown, and we had 52 say that they are interested in the funds. So hopefully we'll get it, and building owners will be able to upgrade their, whether it's electricity, their roof, painting on the outside, just different activities.
Wonderful. So downtown's really grown.
Thank you.
It has, and we had an individual from Columbus in on Monday for a meeting, and first time she was ever in downtown Amherst. Very impressed on it, and the mayor was there, and he gave a lot of credit to you and your organization. So
thank you. Come a long way.
Yeah.
Just celebrated my 10th anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Teresa. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the community allocation grant for 2013, our former formula funding.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Granicus?
Yep. Granicus, Stephanie?
Hi, my name is Stephanie DelSignore. I'm with Granicus, and I also have Steve Pascucci with me as well.
Hi.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you, and thanks for making time for us. We have a brief presentation for you today and some examples of what we're proposing for the county, and then we'll have some Q&A. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Just bear with me a second here. Oops. All right. So we already hit this part, the introduction. So we want to talk to you a little bit about transparency today and help you educate what we're doing with other communities across the state. I know that you have an opportunity to share and put your public meetings today on TV. After the event, you also make DVDs available. So we want to leverage this existing layout and take the sharing of information to the next level. So we're going to talk about bringing video access online so that all members of your community have the ability to watch a public meeting remotely. We'll talk about watching that meeting live on their computers or on mobile devices, including iPads and iPhones, for instance. And we'll talk about the ongoing record that we create, so to provide search capabilities for your constituents, but also for use internally for staff and elected official purposes. In a nutshell, Granicus started as a media streaming company in the late 90s. We brought the public meeting online in the Bay Area of California, which is the San Francisco area. Since then, we've grown to work with 1,000 government agencies across the country. We stream the legislative sessions for the House and the Senate. At the same time, we stream meetings for very small communities like the village of Bethel, Ohio, who's only a population of about 2,100, I believe. We also work with, I've listed some communities up here that we also work with. Granicus is streaming in what's called H.264, which is how we make this information available both live and on demand from mobile devices and on your constituents' computers. We actually have a couple of statistics about offering about the growth of mobile devices across the country, and we wanted to share a little bit of the statistics there.
Hi, everybody. Statistics are usually boring. These are kind of interesting. So of our, we have about 1,000 clients across the country, and the trend years ago used to be because cable really wasn't it was starting not to reach a lot of the population, either people out of the area or people that were moving to DirecTV, things like that. So people started looking into alternatives. Now, what we're seeing is a couple of things. Communities viewers are going towards Hulu and Netflix and Apple TV. They're looking, the younger generation is more interested in on-demand options. They don't want to watch a TV show when it's on. They want to watch it when they want to watch it. So an interesting statistic is tablets and smartphones are outselling PCs at more than 4 to 1. And these are the 100 millions of devices getting delivered. And you would think that, and be right, that the younger segment, that 18 to 35, are the people that are using tablets and smartphones. But there's actually two other segments of your population that are using it. And one of them is an interesting one. It's what we're starting to call connected seniors. So where you have, like I gave my parents an iPhone a couple of weeks ago, and within 5 minutes, my mother was like, "I know how to do it. Get away, let me do it." So they're interested in technology and leveraging it to communicate with grandchildren or just each other. The other segment is lower income families who may not be able to afford a PC but can get an Android device for very inexpensive. So combined with hundreds of millions of mobiles and tablets getting shipped, you want to be able to reach your constituents not only on PCs, but on Macs and mobile devices as well. And we're seeing that trend go. Right now, it's about 30% of the population uses a mobile device or a tablet as their primary device to get information. Now, if they're going to be working or typing, they might use a PC. In 2014, that's going to go to 50%. So 50% of the population as their primary device for getting information from the internet is going to be smartphone or tablet. So, see, I said those statistics weren't that boring, right? Thanks
So
for your time.
invest in stock for that, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
To his point, I actually picked up I got a new phone, the Galaxy Note, and AT&T was running a tablet. I picked it up for $200, traded my own phone in, I got the tablet for free. And you're seeing more corporations now go to the tablet instead of laptops unless they need it for engineering purposes or need the space. But the iPads come along now having a USB port on there, so you're able to put your memory stick in there. So definitely seeing a trend towards it. I know I got 4 tablets now and 2 laptops.
We're seeing a huge trend across the state, actually, and it's a little unrelated to this initiative, but could be part of like future options. A lot of communities are moving towards iPads for even during the public meeting to move away from a lot of the paper-centric processes that might be happening today. And I'm sure you're aware of, those packets begin to add up time after time. So to your point, from a business perspective, it's very much being leveraged. I know the scope of your initiative today is to talk a little bit about making the public meeting more available, and online would help make that happen. But you can also use Granicus as a platform in the future to move towards some of these, some other initiatives you may have, for instance, paperless packets. So just some information for your back pocket. We wear a lot of hats, and like I said, we started as a streaming media company. Since then, we've automated processes around the public meeting, hence when our clients, and especially Ohio, has been very receptive to this, move to paperless packets. I want to pause about Granicus now, and I want to move into some examples of some Ohio communities so you can see how they're posting their media online using our platform. So I have a few communities. Hudson is not too far from here. They've been a long-time client of Granicus. They've been putting their meeting online for quite some time. I have an example here of the layout of their website. This information that sits within the Hudson's main web page is actually content that sits with Granicus. So Granicus will host or store and make available an unlimited amount of public meeting data. So Hudson's storing public meeting videos back to, I believe, 2008. Why this is a big deal is for a number of reasons. One, the information's at your fingertips. It's at your fingertips 24/7. Another reason is, imagine these sidebar, and I'll show you in a second. These videos are indexed, so they're linked to the agenda documents. Sometimes they're linked to minute documents, and Hudson even links them to legislation. So imagine the power of being able to search in one place and being able to see that agenda, see that piece of, see that minute document, and be able to watch the video that sat behind that part of the meeting. So I'll show you in just a second. The other cool part of it is it's an unlimited usability platform. So once the county board is on as a client, you can use this across all of your meeting bodies. So from a collaboration perspective and understanding what's happening in other groups within the county, it's really powerful from a public perspective and from, I think, maybe your perspective. I have a few other examples of Deerfield's a newer community. They host their public meetings with us. I want to pull up a public meeting and show you a little bit about what they have going on. And I'm going to use Bexley, which is right outside of Columbus, to show you a little bit how they store information with Granicus. If you notice when we pop from site to site, this Granicus content is embedded right in every page. You're not losing the traction that you work really hard to bring to the county website. We're just providing you with a place to store the information and allowing your constituents to access it right on your existing page. So I just clicked on a random city council video for Bexley. I want to point out that on the right-hand side is the minutes of this meeting, and on the left-hand side is the video. This is a 3-hour and 3-minute video, and as a constituent, maybe I don't necessarily need to watch the whole video. Maybe I'm interested in a specific piece of the video, and I want to learn more about the finance director's report. So when I click on item 8, I'll jump to that point of the meeting so that I can easily access this information. Just give that a second to load. Now you notice we're at 7 minutes into this meeting. At the same time, you can link your minute documents, or you can link your agenda documents. So same type of process here. If I click on any of these hyperlinks, I'll jump to the point of the meeting where this item was discussed. Now, from a searching perspective, this is how you're able to search on agenda topics and on minute topics. So it's great today that you're making the meeting available. What else might be helpful is if you made the meeting and the topics a little bit more available by adding, everybody talks about water, so we'll type in water, by adding the ability to drill down on information. So I searched for the term water. You could be really specific with your search. So maybe water brought up too much results and you wanted to know about water related to a specific resolution, or maybe you wanted to know about related to a specific community within the county. You can narrow down your search terms if you feel like you have too much information. But when I find the item I was interested in and I click on it, I'll bring up the agenda document or the minute document, and I'll bring up the video right to the place within the meeting that item, water, was being discussed. So back to using it across multiple meeting bodies. It usually starts in one place and then kind of spreads from there. Imagine the power of typing in that resolution number and being able to track it maybe from committee to board meetings and back and forth and things like that. So I'm gonna pause here and make myself available for any questions that you might have.
During you had the catchphrase or a phrase that you could actually look up. How does that system work? I mean, it's just monitoring the video feed for it, and then if
it can work in a variety of ways. The most popular option is that Granicus gives you an indexing tool that would be ran during the meeting. So sometimes, and this can be ran by anyone in the county who you want to give access to the software. Someone will double click on the agenda items within the Granicus software, and then it's hyperlinked automatically. So when that meeting goes offline, when that meeting stops, you could offer that meeting right away on demand with these indexed links. Some clients take a different approach. Some come in and index them after. Some have us index the videos for them. Some don't offer those index points right away after the meeting. Sometimes they wait to do some trimming or cleanup or editing of the video, etc. So that's kind of in your control of what you'd like to do from a workflow perspective. I will say we'll empower you to be able to do it live during the meeting and just get it done, because that's the most efficient way to make it happen. I'd probably say 90% of our clients choose to do it that way. Does that answer your question?
Cost.
I think that this is not on this computer, so I don't know.
Are you going to send us some supporting information then?
Yeah, I think that we have like some ballparks put together, so maybe it makes sense for me to put together a more formal package for you guys.
I was talking with Ernie on this, and I think the best way to do is I wanted you to see the ability, what we have here, and then kind of decide what type of system we would want. Give that information to Ernie. He could put a proposal together and then get an estimate from him. Because if we're not looking at all the bells and whistles on it, then why have them go through and actually do a cost on it?
I will add that Granicus is software as a service. So if you're not familiar with the term software as a service, to make it more tangible, I always think of it like building a gym at my house versus joining a gym. We give you the subscription to all of this technology, the same technology that the House and the Senate is using to stream their media, but at a much lower cost, because you're tapping into a much smaller piece of our IT infrastructure. So software as a service has an initial investment to get you set up, get you trained, configure the software to work well with your workflow. And then there's a recurring fee for unlimited storage, unlimited users, unlimited viewership, enhancements to the technology, 24/7 support, etc. That's kind of the layout of the proposal structure.
The written part of the minutes is done by someone here, yes?
Well, you have a few choices. Bexley actually uses a tool that we call meeting efficiency. So back to maybe the many hats that we wear and improving processes around the public meeting. So we haven't necessarily explored this too much yet here, but you do have the option today or sometime down the road to use Granicus to automate minute making. So you would use that same software that you use to index the videos live to make your minutes live. And then you create that dynamic minute document really easily during the meeting. And when you leave the meeting, you're about 80% complete, have some cleanup to do. Maybe you want to add some more verbiage around those actions that you captured. And you'd also make those minute documents searchable. So then you'd be able to search on very specific language within it if you chose to do that.
So it's typed by word recognition?
We use buttons in the software to automate motions, votes, and roll calls. And then you would type up any sort of summary or additional supporting material that you would want to add. For instance, this part of Bexley's document has all been done with button clicking. They haven't typed anything yet. And then sometimes Debbie will add some information to support that item. But in essence, what this community has done is said, instead of us spending 4 hours trying to type up these summary verbatim /minutes because that's their only permanent record, they moved to more of an action document and use the video to support it and then type up little summaries. Okay. So here's an example of a summary she typed up, and then here's an example of what the software's done. So automated that motion, that vote, and then has captured all that in the document automatically. Same thing here. Item B was all captured automatically without any typing being manually done after the meeting.
Okay. Interesting. You like it, don't you? Buy it for Teresa for Christmas.
I've seen other companies do this. We've had seminars on it with the Clerks Association.
Yeah.
It's a 50-50 split down the middle between the clerks and the software programs. I mean, we have not adopted here the electronic minutes for our permanent records, and that's a big issue. So there's a lot to do with when it comes to records when you're doing a lot of electronic stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big technology guy. I think we're still back in I'll say the Stone Age when it comes to technology in here. That's no disrespect to anybody in the county, but it's just trying to get it to move forward in order to go through and do things. And I think most importantly, get the video out there so people can, at lunch, either watch the video or be able to go in the evening and see what's going on, how people voted.
I agree with you. Like, it's a step-by-step process, and that's why back here, I showed you that Granicus wore, a few different hats. So the idea is, maybe today you start with what we're proposing as government transparency, bring that public meeting, online and available and make it searchable. And then when the time is right internally, you can kind of plug in the pieces of Granicus and automation around the public meeting as you see fit. And, there's, all sorts of communities who are taking, different approaches to rolling out, maybe technology within the community. Will support whatever type of process and pace that the county would like to take.
I don't know if you would have this. Hudson, you had them up there with the options. What was the approximate cost for Hudson, the city of Hudson?
That I definitely don't know off the top of my head. I do know Hudson, so because we wear all these different hats and we're configuring the software to match the pace and work with every community, that it's really all about us like you telling me what's going to be the best fit for you, and then we can kind of put those pieces together. Hudson is doing a lot. They actually automate their entire legislative workflow. So they create their agenda with the push of a button. They automate the creation of legislation, and then they create this portal to track automatically, without any extra steps, to track legislation from Z to A. So they're maybe wearing a few more hats than maybe what the county might be envisioning for right now.
Are you doing all the work for them, or do they have somebody that's employed to kind of manually update it and edit the meetings? Are you doing that, or are they doing it?
They're doing that. They're just leveraging our software to automate those processes. So, and you know what, I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of the manual and paper processes that happen today. They're saying some of those steps are redundant, or some of those steps could be improved, or sometimes we forget about them or make typos. How can we use software to automate that piece of the puzzle?
Would you be able to get a list of different websites from different governments and just have a wide range, you know, like a very basic system to a more complex?
Yeah,
and give
I
that
can
to
do
us
that for
kind
you.
of with the approximate cost too. That way the board can take a look at
How to
this
put
is
it all
what we get
together.
for option A versus, you know.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. And I think like Deerfield, we saw Deerfield Township a second ago, you know, they started kind of where you are, and then they just, or where we've talked about, and then just moved to paperless packets, and then I can show you how they could build on it from there and kind of lay it out for you. Hudson did that too, by the way. They started streaming media with Granicus again in 2008. They just moved to automating their legislative workflow, I think, in 2012.
And Jerry, if we had this available online, would we still be required to offer DVDs?
I guess I'm not quite.
Well, like right now,
You have to be able to allow a public record in the media that you have the equipment available to produce, so.
all right, so if they wanted the record, we had a computer available, they could just go to the website?
Right.
Okay.
A few ideas. Some communities use like an existing computer to like as like an older computer that's hanging around. They leave it right in, you know, the building, maybe by the clerk's office, or where you're getting a lot of those public requests for information, and it automatically points to this site. So it helps you offset a lot of that, you know, outside requests for information and maybe some of the internal requests for information that you're getting.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Technology is so crazy.
Mr. Ennis,
I have no report this morning.
Commissioners report.
You don't have any any pending lawsuits or anything? You don't need us in executive session? No executive session? Good, amazing. Well, Teresa and I, this past Friday, went to Columbus for the summer conference, and it was actually really informative, and I really enjoyed it. Met a lot of the new commissioners, a lot of female commissioners. It was nice to see that. We talked about the impacts of Obamacare and some of the things that we're going to have to do to get ready for that, and human resource challenges that face us every day. And it was good. Nice lunch, nice drive. Teresa was a great driver. She didn't scare me or anything. No traffic. It was great. It was a great day. So I'm going to start going more often.
Good. There's a lot to learn down there.
There is a lot to learn.
There is.
I was down there Thursday.
Yeah, right.
And traffic was terrible.
Oh.
2 accidents between 159 and 131, single traffic. I mean, 3 hours to get there. I was late for my 1 o'clock meeting, but I made
We
it.
had to go downtown. We were at the mall.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you guys were
So
up,
we were
okay.
30
right.
minutes in.
Yeah,
Right.
Commissioners meeting, a lot of discussion about the state budget and where it was going, and them going to conference committee, so we have our work cut out for us in regards to a lot of the pending legislation, and we'll see where we end up, and I'll recap that when I get report next week. Also on Monday, myself, Mayor Hunter, and about 6 other members of NOACA met. We're redoing all of our bylaws. Regards to a lot of issues, updating. It's been a decade since NOACA's bylaws were updated with all the changes in federal regs and how you apply for money and vast sweeping changes. So we spent about 4 hours there Monday, and we've got another meeting scheduled for, I think, next week or the week after the update, but we hope to have some changes in Owakatam in regards to you for our board meeting July 12th. And
Would love to attend the, I didn't know about the meeting on
no, it was
Monday.
the bylaws committee. They just, they were
Okay.
going to call, put together about 2 people from every county.
Oh, okay.
To participate. Most of the people have been there for a longer amount of time because they know the legislation and the issues we've had, anywhere from the old weighted vote discussions, membership discussions, I mean, just a lot of the overview. So they brought some of those guys. Dan Troy's been there 16 years, so, and he was through the last revision, so that's sort of who Valerie put together, so.
He was there Friday.
Oh, was he? Well, yeah, I saw him Thursday, he said he was spending the night, so. End of my report.
Oh, it's funny, I was actually there.
I saw
didn't-
your car, but I didn't see you.
Yeah, that's hard to miss my car.
It's hard to miss your car these days.
I actually had a Congressman Jordan's director was behind me and called me. So it was kind of a small world. Here I am going down to the meeting in Columbus, and he's driving behind me. I did attend that meeting as well. I did a little different approach. I actually went to the county administrators meeting, and I sat in there, and no one knew I was actually a county commissioner, so it's interesting to listen to the administrators talk about the county commissioners.
Oh, I had to be real
And,
mole.
We do that all the time.
So,
Try a clerk's meeting sometime.
yeah, but I got to hear a lot of things and how they actually work on different problems throughout the county, and things that they're working on with IT departments in order to get judges involved and get the sheriff involved in their county. So that was a good meeting. And then I was a speaker with the Dog Wardens Association, and there was 3 meetings in one, basically. There was the first meeting with regarding Senate Bill 59, where they put the dog license in there. The Senate Majority Leader took the version I was working with Gail Manning, Senator Manning, on in Senate Bill 50, changed it so the legislators had all the control instead of a Board of Commissioners. And then the dog wardens were upset about that. So the first meeting, I got yelled at.
I heard.
And then the second meeting was a few dog wardens, after everyone left, a few of them came up to me during the lunch. We spent the hour talking, and it was really amazing. They were against everything I had in Senate Bill 50, and they're against not having the color of the tags, multiple things. And after we spoke during the lunch, we came back. Everything was great in Senate Bill 50 if we could just change one thing. And it was really amazing just to sit down and talk with the dog wardens. And I tell them, I said, if you would have brought this up in the first part of the meeting, I said, I would have been able to eat lunch, you would have been able to eat lunch, and we would have been a lot further along. What Senate Bill 50 is basically trying to open up the restrictions that we have in Ohio Revised Code for dog licenses and give multi-year registration. The concern that they had with it is you can buy a dog license in any county and the other county has to accept it. So you have counties that have different rates. So if they had a lower rate, you could go buy the dog license in that county, and then Lorain County, for instance, would have to handle all the issues with the dogs and receive none of the money. So we spoke with Josh from NOACA and
CCAO.
I'm sorry,
CCAO.
CCO, and Gail Manning's office. Going to take a look at possibly changing the legislation where it goes from being a state dog license to a county dog license. So similar to your driver's license. If you move, you got to get a new license. If you register your dog and you move out of the county, you would have to get a new license. That would keep the funding fair. It would still allow for multiple years for dog owners, for people like me who would rather just do it one time and have it over. So it was a very productive meeting down there. And I was grateful for the individuals that stuck around during the lunch to talk about it. And we're going to be presenting a modified bill to them in the next couple weeks. On Sunday, one of the reasons I have a sport or a golf shirt on today is playing softball. I thought I broke 2 fingers. I broke 1 finger and jammed the other 4. So putting a tie on and buttoning up a sports coat is a little difficult for me today. So that's fun. And then on Monday, I had meetings with Congressman Jim Jordan, Congressman Bob Gibbs, an individual from Shell Oil Industry, multiple elected officials from around the county, just talking about the importance of Ohio playing in the Alaskan pipeline, future exploration for Shell. Every exploration is about 10% actually turn into a oil that they're able to get, but big thing is they're getting compressors from Ohio. They're going to be looking at getting their seamless steel pipe from U.S. Steel. So it was a very productive meeting. It's more building on for the future. And also while there, get some additional information on some gun manufacturers. We have another one that's actually looking at us. They need a 300,000 square foot facility on 40 plus acres, and we're actually getting more congressional support, and the governor's office is actually going to be working with Jobs Ohio and Team Lorain County to try to get them to come here. So, end of my report.
Madam Clerk,
Board correspondence?
move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anyone wishing to address the board? Good morning, David.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Yep.
Got brochures and pocket cards for you. Pass it down.
Thank you.
Actually, I have 3 things to bring up. One is to say, I asked the young lady as she was leaving if there were any Ohio counties that were clients of this vendor, and she said the closest one logistically was a county that's north of Detroit. So she doesn't know if there's a county going, but I guess I'd have a couple of suggestions. One is that you get somebody from Hudson here sometime, and if you like that site, and talk to them about it. Eric Nornberg was the IT director for the city of Mesa, and I'm going to get him to look at Hudson's just, out of curiosity. But I also take Teresa's point that, there are a lot of counties, they are doing something. The County Commissioners Association must have some perspective on this as well, so that it isn't you talking to one vendor as you make your decision about this, and sort of look at what other counties are doing and see if you like one, and sort of talk with that one, rather than just sort of have a one-off. Each vendor comes and shows you the communities that they have. They have 40 clients in Ohio. There are 88 counties, so they're not even one in every county sort of thing. But I'm going to look at Hudson because John Brown and his dad came from Hudson and came to Oberlin. And we talked about that a few years ago for Juneteenth.
I just want to let you know what happened was I brought this up last year, I believe, to the board, and I was working with our IT director, Ernie Smith, in the county, and he was one that went through, did the research on it, and brought this vendor here. So our IT guy actually has been looking at it and looking at what they offer and how they would interface with our system too. That's going to be the key part, is how they interface with our system.
Absolutely. But again, just on record keeping and everything else, public records are a state law issue and stuff like that, so it'd be nice to find somebody with Ohio experience as well. I just, as I say, I don't doubt that they're an excellent vendor, but
There's others out there.
Oh, yeah.
There are others
There's
out there.
always out there.
And I respect Ernie's, opinion about that, but I'm also curious what he thinks about what other Ohio counties are doing.
I think at this point, it's a matter of bringing the situation up to where we're starting to look at it.
Right.
Anything would have to go out a request for proposal, request for quotes. So I mean, a beginning point. I brought it up 5-6 years ago when I watched the Cook County, Illinois one.
Yeah.
On live streaming, which was, so.
Well, so I'm looking forward to it, then I don't have to come all the time unless I really have something to say, but it'll be nice when we can poke you too through, you know, have little lights flashing for input the way Shara Davis has us voting on things all the time, you know, when we're in big meetings. The second thing is just a brief comment about foundations. I've worked for foundations in 4 different states, and you know, Philadelphia, Chicago, St. Louis, some big cities, as well as in Lorain County. And there are things foundations like to do with governments, but if it's something that, you know, you're funding out of the general fund, and a foundation giving you money simply so you can do something different with your general fund is not likely to be something they're going to be terribly supportive of. The Nord Family Foundation funded the whole 2020 process for years. And there's places especially where the county overlaps with nonprofits is generally where you're going to find foundations being interested. You'll also find nonprofits being more interested there, because if it's something that you do out of your general fund, the nonprofits are going to say, hey, you know, if you don't get that money, we get that money, and we need that money, and they really do. So at some point, when you're talking about foundation money for public purposes at the county level, I'd love to be in on that conversation. The Montgomery County with Dayton in it has had a long and fruitful relationship with their foundation community. That's one I know of a lot. There's some in Stark County as well that have a long-standing thing. Akron's Community Foundation, working with Summit County, has been going on a long time, and you know, obviously the Cleveland Foundation being the oldest, the first community foundation. We invented the Community Foundation in Ohio. And that centennial's coming up too in just a couple of years. Juneteenth. Hope you're making plans to be in Oberlin sometime in the next 3 or 4 days. We start with Thursday. Well, we already started actually. We had a program about contrabands and the reports coming back from the contraband camps during the Civil War, 150 years ago this month. You know, the Emancipation Proclamation has been made, but Gettysburg hasn't even happened yet. I mean, you're really very much in the middle of the war. And African Americans slaves are freeing themselves at that point and going behind Union lines, and it was a situation of displaced persons. It's not unlike refugee camps now, where suddenly there are lots of people clogging up our little war, and it's the Army that first has to make provisions for dealing with these folks moving off their areas and needing shelter, needing clothing, needing to figure out how to fend for themselves, even when they're in this very uncertain status. They're not citizens, and they're not slaves on the plantation anymore. So we've already had something about that. Thursday evening, Deborah Rose will present a reenactment of Mary Church Terrell, who's I think she graduated from Oberlin in 1863, and she's actually the person who invented Negro History Week, which becomes Black History Month over the course of time. And she did it because Abraham Lincoln's birthday and Frederick Douglass's assumed birthday were both in the same week, and so that became the first thing. She's very interesting in a lot of respects. Friday, we have Abraham Lincoln coming for lunch. That's at Martin Luther King Jr. Park. If it rains, he's at the public library, which is where Deborah Rose is on Thursday. Festival goes on in the square all day. And then there's a band concert that night. If you'd like to be in the parade, I know they'd love to have you. It lines up at Eastwood School at 11:30. It leaves, yeah, it assembles at 11:30 and leaves at noon. The Kendall lawn chair, precision lawn chair, a squad, whatever it is. Anyway, the precision lawn chair drill, they line up at the pizza place on East College Street, so they don't have to walk the whole route. But they should hit the square sometime a few minutes after noon. And lots going on all day. We have some U.S. colored troops that will be on the square as well. And then there's a Sunday afternoon church service at 5 o'clock. That'll be interesting because we've never really had much on Sunday because 6 years out of 7, and this year, that Sunday is Father's Day, so it's not like people want to have a whole lot of assembly, but a 5 o'clock church service at First Church as well. All events at Juneteenth are free. This is this year's T-shirt, which has the central words of the Emancipation Proclamation on it. And the theme this year is Proclaiming Freedom. And that's what we're going to do. So hope to see you all there. There's some cards in the back of the room that I just gave to you. And hope to see you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
You guys do a great job out in Oberlin.
I think David's tall and lean enough, he could make a good Abraham Lincoln. don't you
Yeah.
think so? Of course, you'd have to pretend to be a Republican for the day. That might be.
We'd take.
Yeah.
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 Oberlin was the only community to vote for Richard Nixon in 1960 in this county. We were Republicans a lot longer than anybody else.
I
Anyone
thought
else?
Ted would make a good Abraham Lincoln.
I could do an Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Anyone else wishing to address the board this morning? If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Ooh, second.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.